If you're an architect who wants to elevate your workflow with a new age tool, then Synaps is for you. Because in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we can create amazing professional drawings like these and visualizations in 9.8 seconds inside Synaps. So make sure to watch the video all the way through the end. So first of all, in order to get access to Synaps, you can join for absolutely free. It doesn't have a time trial. It just has limited AI credits, which we're going to use for a bunch of cool stuff, which I'm going to show you in just a second. So right after you log in, you should be able to see a dashboard with something like this. So right here, you can see the recent model that you work on. Over here, you can see some templates, which you can open and explore and test things out inside those templates. And over here, you can see tutorials, which you can learn more about Synaps, like the one that you're seeing right now. Over here, you have the community where you can upload your renders, where you can upvote stuff, get inspiration, and also copy prompts. So for example, I can save you prompt and then copy the prompt and actually use it on our workspace. And then obviously the inbox is here when you get invites to work with multiple people at the same time, since Synaps has real-time collaboration. So if I click right here at the recent model, I have a project which was created inside Synaps. So you can see the level of drawing that you can create right here on this web-based tool, by the way, which you do not have to download anything in order to use it. You can do sections, which are a bit more schematic here. We can do even more detailed one, elevations, interior visualization, which is all real scale with AI, by the way, not just random generations, and as well a bunch of material studies as well. And I'm going to show you exactly how in just a second. But first of all, I'm going to show you a little bit around this beautiful user interface, which I absolutely love the design of. So over here on the left side, you can see each frame and the layers that are inside of it. So for example, if I click right here in the floor plan copy, you can see that we have the camera tool, which actually creates the renders. And I'm going to show you a little bit later on how to create visuals with that. You can see that every single thing that we drew here, like the circles over here, the walls and everything else, is just like layers in Photoshop or layers in any other software that you've used out there. And then over here, you can find the asset library, which you can just drag and drop anything. So for example, we can just drag and drop this dining room right here, and then we can move it around. Obviously, all of this can be modified in terms of how it appears and everything else, but we're going to move to that section of the user interface a bit later on. And if we go here at the top bar, by the way, this is where you can find all of maybe the most used tools. Now, one thing that I definitely want to highlight is what a frame is inside Synaps and how it works. Basically, this gray area here in the background is basically, you can think of it like a table, and the frame, which you can draw by clicking over here, is the actual canvas, or I would say the paper on which you put stuff on, which is super useful to keep everything organized. Because now that we have a frame here, and if we go to layers, you can see that we have this frame selected. Anything that we draw, for example, with this rectangle tool that you can click right here, will be organized right inside this frame. So you can see everything is drawn right inside here. You can draw another circle. You can also draw polylines, so any type of even more irregular kind of shape. So we can just try more stuff like this. And you can also use the pen tool, which is a bit more organic stuff, or when you want to sketch anything or anything like that. So, but I won't go in too much detail for that as of now. I'm going to go right back onto our drawing here. Okay, so if I go down here, I'm going to show you exactly how we can add an extra room. So in this instance, we can go here at the wall icon, we can click on the wall, and then we can basically choose how we want this aligned. So if you click here, it will be aligned on the left side. If you click here, it will be aligned in the middle. And if you click on the right, then it will be aligned on the right, which is, I think, what works pretty well over here. So we can click once for this wall to finish. Then we can continue all the way to the other side. You can see how we can basically use this as a guideline. So now we can just go downwards, and it snaps very well. And honestly, it is a lot better than any drawing experience out there. Don't even get me started on even trying to compare it with AutoCAD or anything similar to that. So this would be one of the walls that we drew. We can move these even after they're placed. And then, for example, we can choose an interior wall, which I can just use the W key instead of actually clicking here, and then I can choose the thickness of something like 0.15, and I can close off this wall. In this instance, I will choose the middle alignment, and I will go all the way over here. I can also fix the alignment, to something like this. And now you can see how we can go ahead and create the rest of the rooms. Now you can see the difference here is that we would want the walls to be gray like the rest of the stuff. In that instance, we'll go here, add fill, and we will add a gray fill for something like this. Then the grid lines, we can basically select these, which were made earlier, and we can click bring to front in order for them to be on top of the walls. And we can do the same thing for this one over here. So now this is kind of how the room is. Another thing that we have to do with these walls is that let's make the actual stroke darker. So I will select the walls and let's click on the stroke. We can use the eyedropper tool to get a lot closer and actually select the same exact outline. And now we have the same outline color. Now what we can do is just make them thicker by increasing the points here at 1.3. And now we have the same line weight on these walls as well. So then you can see that we already have input the topography and the background. We can also add hatches, and I'm gonna show you all of that in just a second. First of all, let me show you how we can add openings. So if we click here on the wall drop-down menu, we can go at the opening section. We can add a door right here. Then we can change the actual alignment on where it swings. So for example, we can put it on the outside egress and we can swing it on the right side. So this would be the entrance over here. And then we can basically just Control D and this will be duplicated. Let's also change the swing to the left side now. And now this is how we can add doors pretty easily. Now we can also add windows just as easy. I can use Shift plus O in order to activate openings once again. And here at opening type, we can just choose window. Let's just get a bit closer and let's actually increase this in size. So this way we can also resize windows and everything else. Now, next up, what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to basically go ahead here at the library. We can just drag and drop a bed block. This seems to be a bit out of scale, but we can pretty easily just resize it like this. And now it seems like it is fine with scale as well. And we can also add a little bit of a wardrobe over here, just like this. And we can basically create a polyline or even just a rectangle and add the same fill as the rest of the library just by using the fill tool. Let's just move this a bit upwards, and then we basically have added some sort of furniture here. Now, on top of all this, we can also add hatches and textures underneath. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. We can just go at wall, we can go at room, and basically just by hovering over a room, we can add a room which has a label like this, which we can rename right here, the layers. We can just type in bedroom, and now it's renamed, and it also shows us the exact area inside this room. And then we can do the same thing by going here at wall and then adding a room over here. And we can just rename this as closet. And then we can also basically add a hatch as a background. So I can go at hatch right here. I can add something like this, some sort of herringbone parquet. And then I can just lower the opacity at like 30%. So I can just leave it at 30%. I can also lower the scale a bit. And now what I can do is I can just click here and I can say send to back and just order it correctly. That way it doesn't come out in front of the existing furniture. What we can do as well is that we can also lower the thickness of the stroke. So we can lower the weight at 0.5. So this is even softer in the way it looks. Let's lower the opacity to 15. And I think this looks even better. And we can do the same thing over here. So we can go for a herringbone hatch. Let's lower the opacity at 15. Let's lower the scale to 10. And let's lower the line weight to 0.5. And now we can also move this backward. That way it sits correctly in terms of not looking like it is in front of the doors and the wardrobe and basically not on top of the rest of the room. So this is basically a little bit about the drawing experience inside Synaps. This is how we can draw walls, add openings, and draw rectangles or polylines, and also drag and drop blocks like this bed right here. And right now I just worked in meters. By the way, if you want to change units, you can basically just click here. You can go to units and you can choose between millimeters, centimeters, meters, and inches. Feet will also be added very soon as well. Now, if I actually zoom out right here, now if you see these type of images right here, you might be wondering how they were created within a web-based tool and how were they actually real scale. I'm going to show you exactly how in just a second. If we actually get closer to the room that we just drew, and if we actually go to the camera tool, we can click once on the camera tool, we can click once on the point on where it starts, and another time on the angle which we want captured. Over here we have the focal length, which is also the field of view in terms of how wide we want the shot to be captured. So we can click at 24 millimeters wide. height. We can also choose the height, so we can go even higher, less, etc. And if you turn on live preview, okay, so if I have the camera selected and I turn on live preview, you can see that now it shows the actual window exactly where it needs to be, and the wall length and everything else is fully real scale. And I'm going to show you how we can take this into a realistic render. So first of all, let me just actually duplicate this frame and move it out of the way so it doesn't actually mess up the rest of the layouts that we have here. So if you get closer, and if I select the camera right there, I can go in and type render this room like a bare white render. Now the reason why I'm doing this, and why I believe that most of the time it's a better idea to not just go full on and do the full prompt, is because if you actually add one thing at a time, so right now we're just making sure that it renders out the exact structure that we need, it actually increases the accuracy and the outcome and the output that the renderer actually has. So now we have the white room in the exact scale that we need to. So for example, now we can say, make the window full height, floor to ceiling. And we iterate step by step like this. That way we minimize the room for error. By the way, the time per generation is on average 9.8 seconds, which I think is very, very fast. And I'm going to show you in just a second on how. So right here we have the actual height of the window exactly as we need it. And now we can say, make this a contemporary bedroom with a dark color palette. This bedroom is in Switzerland mountains, and it is winter and snowing outside. Make the interior light, warm and cozy. And now we click send. So you can see this is a bit more of a heavy prompt. The reason why I felt like we could do this is because now that the structure is there, I feel like the room for error is a bit smaller, even though that the AI can kind of misunderstand stuff and misrepresent it. I felt confident enough that it was not going to mess things up this time, and as you can see, now it actually generated the bedroom for us. Now, one thing that this does not do, it does not recognize the orientation of the actual furniture yet. This will be added very fast in a new update, but you can kind of see how fast this was generated from this to this, which I honestly think is pretty cool. Now, let me show you how we can go from this to multiple iterations and actually study materials. So we can click on the frame. By the way, anytime you want to iterate, you want to have the frame selected. And one more thing that I also have to add is when you create the first render, make sure that the camera is selected. So when you create this first iteration right here. So if you click here, we can say, make the walls stone. This would be one iteration. Then we can say, make the walls light wood. We can click send. And now we have two iterations where the wall is actually with stone and where the wall is actually with light wood. And we can also test more stuff out. So we can say, make the bed sheets brown, dark. And we can click send. So you can be as specific as you want with the prompt, and it will actually make those iterations. So this is how it actually works on the interiors. Once again, put your camera inside the frame and have it selected. Render it as a bare white render to make sure that it is like a white model, that it makes the structure 100% correctly. Then we basically increase the size of the windows, the height of it, and then you can go ahead and stylize it, give it more context with everything you need. One pro tip, by the way, you can see here how I mentioned Switzerland. I don't know what it is, but anytime you specify a certain location, the output just seems to be much better. And let's see if it actually did it. So right here, you can see that it also changed the color of the sheet here. And by the way, as you can see, this is the fastest way that you can go from idea to full design documentation to actually having something visualized and test materials and lighting out as fast as possible. Now let's test it, for example, on exteriors as well. So I will just click Ctrl D to duplicate this. Now we can do, I can just have this selected and turn it off. So the block, we can just turn it off for now. That way, when I actually have this, what we can do is I'm going to type in, and this might be a more aggressive prompt in this way that I'm going to go and specify things more in the first instance. So I can type in generate realistic render of this wooden contemporary minimalist villa in Switzerland mountains. We can click send. And let's see what it actually creates for us. And you can see we can create these interior renders. even stuff like this. And we can create exterior renders, which are correct with scale, as you can see, just like we have over here. And the surroundings and everything look just as beautiful as well. Now, one thing that I might have missed is you can see the roof eaves here go a bit beyond. We can try to fix this, so we can say render this as a white model, keeping the structure 100% the same. You can click send, and let's see now that if we re-render it and go step by step, the results are even more accurate. So what we can do is that we can keep it this way first. So this is better because now we do not have those extended eaves. And now what we can do here is that we can click on here and we can actually use the prompt that we used here and just apply it to this render. And now it will actually keep the structure that this has, and it basically apply the same style that it did here onto our new render. This is honestly great, and I think I like this very much. Now we can iterate even more from here, so we can say add warm interior lighting. So now it has added a little bit of an interior warm lighting. We can also go ahead and iterate from the previous model, and we can say add some people in front of the house gathered around a fireplace. We can click send, and now let's see how well it actually does with other parts of context that are not architectural per se. So it basically did that, and I think this is pretty cool. It does get a lot more attention on the people than the home itself, so we're just gonna leave this to the side right now. What I will do is I want to do 2 more tests. So one of them is going to be testing out different material options, so some sort of material study. So we can just say make the wood darker. We can also say replace the material with black metal seams. And now we have 3 different materials that we can test out. So we have the light wood, which is right here. We also have the darker wood, which is right here. I personally like the lighter wood a bit more. And then we also have the black metal seams, which is right here, which honestly is pretty cool. We can test all of this stuff out. Now, let's say I choose this one and I want to see this one in multiple different moods. So we can say make this autumn time raining. You can click send, and we can say make this winter time and snowy, and we can click send. And now we can also test out different moods too. And one more thing we can add is make it nighttime. 3 different settings, and we basically would get full context around this area. 9.8 seconds, and by the way, as you can see, we can keep generating and testing more stuff as other generations are being created. So this is the autumn time with rain. This would be the nighttime, which is a lovely render in my opinion, and this is the snowy version as well, which is pretty cool. So this is how we can do visualizations. Now, another cool thing, which I've kind of saved it for last, is being able to create floor plans while just using AI. So we can create a new frame here. I just use the F shortcut. And if you get close by the way, the floor plan generator here is in beta version, so it's 0.5 version, and it only creates 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 1-bedroom apartments. It does not have perfect outputs, but I still think it's a very cool way just to save up time. So for example, we can click a rectangle here and we can say, let's go 9 meters in terms of width and 10 meters in terms of height. This would be perfect for a 2-bedroom apartment. So now if we keep this selected and have the floor plan generation toggle on right here, we can just type in 2-bedroom apartment, which by the way, the size of the bedroom should be appropriate to the size of the rectangle that we drew, and we can click send, and we have a floor plan, something like this, show up for us. Now, as you can see, this is not perfect. It has some weird rooms placed in here. However, this is very cool because you can iterate pretty quickly and get ideas for your stuff. So for example, you can just remove this, and with some editing, in fact, I think it can get to a pretty good level of a floor plan. So we can just move things around like this. We can take this off, we can take this off, and now we just move these walls as well. So it basically speeds up your workflow instead of having to draw everything one by one. And once again, it is very good just to get some ideas. So this can work pretty good. So now you have the entrance over here in this instance. You can also obviously edit everything. Now you've seen online actual floor plan generators. This is the only one that I've actually seen which is editable, and it gives you the customizability. And this is the very cool thing about Synaps that I love. It has a very good core drafting and drawing and architecture experience, and then these AI tools come in as some sort of supplementary support, and they still give you the speed of artificial intelligence with the customizability and the actual freedom that you need as an architect. So if you actually enjoyed this video and you want to see more of Synaps and how you can use it, go ahead and watch the video right here.